The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning, everyone. This is Mark Raymakers here with Insurance Agency Marketing Services. Thank you for taking time to join us here this morning on this special webinar we have with National Guardian Life. With us today, we have John Enting, and John is one of our top 5 annuity, top 5 life producers, and he's the one that brought this product to us. So he is a top producer for National Guardian as well, and has really learned a great way to complement what he's doing by offering this product. So John, thank you for coming out of the field to help us out here this morning.
Thanks for having me, Mark. Looking forward to it.
Absolutely. So, folks, this is a recorded webinar, as always. So if someone should come walking into your office with a nice big check and you need to leave us, don't worry. We'll send you over the recording. But it's nice to have you here. That way you get a chance to hear directly how this product works and ask questions. So speaking of which, there is a question box here. You can fill that out, and we'll address those questions as we go through the webinar here this morning. So I do recognize some of you here. There's some, looks like there's some brand new names out here. So again, thank you for joining us. I'm going to go through a few things that Aiims can and will do for you to help you grow your business. Obviously, it's nice to have a partner in the business, and that's something that Aiims likes to do, is to provide you some things that sets us apart from the competition out there. One of the things that we do, which is really neat, is our referred producer program. And basically the way that works is when you refer someone to us, we will compensate you for them. Just first of all, getting their contract in the door is $50 to you. So once that first contract comes in, we're going to send you a check for $50. Every time they write a piece of business, we are then going to put money into an account, and we'll send you a check each quarter for the business that they write. So let's say, for example, here we're going to look at $1 million in production. Let's say it's $1 million in annuity. Maybe it's $1 million in National Guardian Life single premium, and we also do it for traditional life as well. So let's say you send us 3 people to write $1 million in a 12-month period. That's $6,000 in cash fee because we pay 20 basis points on the business that they write. As long as they're writing business with us, you're going to continue to get checks. And there's no cap, there's no limit as to how many advisors you can send our way. So if you think of somebody you think would be one that could benefit from the benefits and services that we provide here, give us a call, let us know who that is. We'll get the phone number, we'll get their contact information, and we'll get them contracted and get you your first check out the door. So keep that in mind. Now, this is one thing I really like, which is called a marketing reimbursement program. As an agent, when I was in the field, nobody ever reimbursed me for my expenses, and this is what Aiims does for you. When you write business with us, let's say you write $100,000 in National Guardian Life, we put $200 into a marketing reimbursement account for you. Now, that also applies to single premium, annuities, and traditional life. Traditional life is a lot lower premium than that. So what happens is, when you write $100,000, that $200 sits in a marketing account. And let's say that here we got Christmas coming up, right? So you decide that maybe you want to send out Christmas cards to your clients, or maybe you want to have a nice little holiday get together. So let's say that you spend $400 on your party, pretty inexpensive party, but let's just say you did. What happens is you send us the receipt for $400, we turn around, we send you a check for $200, and that's based on $100,000 in premium. So we reimburse you basically 50% of whatever your expenses are. A lot of agents take advantage of this to buy their leads, to pay for the cost of their seminars each month, whatever it would be. This is a great way for you to have someone partner with you on the expense side of your business in addition to your commission. So we have a new producer bonus. And again, as I mentioned, I do see some new names here. Once you get contracted with National Guardian Life, well, I'll get you the contracting out today for this. If you write $100,000 in trust business, and John again is going to explain how this all works as far as the trust, but you write $100,000, what we're going to do is we're going to send you a check for $750 in cash, or we'll set you up a website for free for 2 years, or we'll send you a new iPad. You might want to wait until you get to the 300,000 level and not cash in at that first level, at which point you can choose the Social Security program in the 3,000 piece postcard mailing. That is very popular. If you're looking for a way to get in front of more buyers in a seminar approach, this is for you. You can buy that as well. So if you don't want to earn it, you want to buy it, just call us, we'll get you set up. Or you can get 2,000 marketing dollars, kind of like the marketing reimbursement program I talked about. We're going to give you $2,000 right out of the gate there. Or you can get a $1,500 gift card. Lastly, you might just wait to get to the 500,000 level. Maybe you're interested in seminars, maybe you're doing seminars, maybe you need to kind of beef up what you're doing. This is a great way for you to deal with some of the top seminar advisors we've got on board with us now. Matt Gill, for example, he'll give 5,000 piece mailing and seminar coaching with him, or there's 4,000 piece mailing and seminar coaching with Dave Pimper. Again, these two are top producers of ours, and they got a great program. So that's a couple different options there. Or finally, then there's the Ritz-Carlton travel package. You might want to just set up your own vacation plan. Our back office support is second to none, and I know you hear probably from a lot of different IMOs how good the service is, but ours truly is top shelf, and John can attest to that. He's been doing business with us for a multitude of years. So there's a number of different things that we do for you. Business building tools and resources. There's a lot of different things that we can do for you there, and I'll show you a slide here in a minute on some things that we can do there. Case design. What we do is you call us with whatever the situation would be, whether it's a life case, an annuity case. We know the best carriers for the situation that you're in, whatever unique, case that you're working on. We put together that for you. Then we provide you all the forms. We email those to you. We can mail them to you. You can overnight them, however you want to do that. What we say is this from submission to commission. So when you write that case, it comes to our office. We scrub the application for you. When we're talking about life insurance, we order the exams for you. So it's something you do not have to do. We keep in touch with you via phone and email as far as what's happening with your case. And then we obviously work to get that case paid. So you can submit it to us and forget about it. We take it from there. We do all the life annuity quotes, as again, it ties in with the case design. And as far as sales and expertise and coaching, pretty much everybody in the marketing department has been in the field one time or another. So they understand the unique challenge that you have out there in the field. And we know that nobody gets paid until you do. So we certainly appreciate and understand that. And our paperless contracting. So once you complete that, the nice thing about that is if you ever want to add a carrier in the future, you don't have to complete contracting every single time. Basically, what you do is you just let us know which carrier you want to get added on, and we go ahead and take care of that for you. Our creative marketing solutions, this is what I was going to turn you on to here. So we have a department here that can help you put together whatever type of brochures that you want. There's some standard ones that we have, or we can even customize something for you. So as you can see, anything that you can think of there from a turnkey solution. Agency solutions, we've really done a nice job, or I should say they've done a nice job because I'm not part of that group. I don't want to take credit for their great work, but they have created some of the most attractive logos out there and really helped agents and advisors to brand themselves. So they can help you set up something like that, put on your everything that you send out to your clients and all of your advertising. So if you don't have a brand for your office now, they can certainly help you with that. And then the digital solutions. They do all kinds of online marketing stuff, which is really fabulous. A lot of agents are starting to take advantage of the Facebook. I shouldn't say starting to, but there are agents that are doing that, and they're seeing some great results from that. So if you are interested in knowing about that, you can certainly call and ask for Tasia, and she can help you with that. If you haven't been to our website, just real quick, it's www.aiimsinc.com. Everything that you could possibly want to support your business is on there. And now I tell you that because there's times, obviously, when you're working after hours, or maybe you're working on the weekend and we're not accessible. So you can run different quotes from there. You can pull any kind of form off of there that you want. There's links to the different carriers out there. There's product details on our different grids. So annuity, long-term care, life, it's all out there. Of course, we'd love to have you call us if you ever need help, but our website is designed to help you when we're not available. All right, I'm going to stick a poll out here real quick. Let's see here. Okay, so real quick, I'm going to put this out there. This is on Aiims Wealth Management. Now, everybody's heard of Department of Labor and all the stuff that's been going on with them. So what we've done is to prepare ourselves and to better serve you, we have created Aiims Wealth Management. Now, the nice thing about this is this gives you an opportunity to offer something else to your clients that you may not have been offering before. Some of you already have a broker-dealer arrangement, and so you understand the value of having that extra piece to the puzzle. So here's a nice thing, and I'm putting this poll out here so that if you're interested in knowing anything about our Aiims Wealth, from helping you to complete your exam, which we do help you with that financially, so we can support you on the testing of that. Maybe you're with an arrangement right now where the fees are high, the commissions are low, whatever the situation is, you're just not potentially or possibly happy with what you're doing. Mark, yes, what I'll do is I'll have one of our folks over there from Aiims Wealth give you a call. And here's a nice thing, if you're even considering it, the fact that you're going to add extra revenue and provide additional service to your clients, it really helps your retention, it strengthens the relationships. And for those of you who may know a property and casualty agent, the more lines of business you have with a client, the more likely they are to stay with you. So this is just another way to get that client and solidify that relationship by offering them something different that they may not have right now or that you're not currently offering to them. So if you'd like to know more about Aiims Wealth, just mark yes. I'll have one of the folks over there give you a call here today and answer any questions that you might have, even about the Department of Labor, anything about a broker-dealer arrangement, fees, commissions, all that kind of stuff. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to close the poll out here. Fairly decent response. I appreciate that. Of course, if you have any questions or maybe decide later that you want to talk with them, just call our office here and we'll get you hooked up with them. All right, I got another poll I'm going to put out real quick. We are real big on training. You probably notice that we've got a webinar scheduled every day of the week, Monday through Friday, I should say. And part of the reason for that is because obviously we think it's important to be educated. And so with our training event that we have, and this is how it works, we got our 2018, we have one scheduled in March. So what we do is we fly you out on a Wednesday. We do some short presentations Wednesday evening, a full day of training on Thursday, and a half a day training on Friday. Here's the nice thing about this. There's no expense to you. So we pay for your airfare, we pay for your lodging, we pay for your meals. And this is an opportunity for you to do a number of different things. Obviously, the whole idea behind this is that we want to help you to grow your annuity sales. We want to help you to grow your life sales. And so we have speakers come from across the country. John, who's helping us today, he's one of the presenters as well. But we bring in different speakers to talk about different sales concepts and different ideas and how to better cultivate your block of business. There's just a lot of great stuff out there that we go through with you, and there's no cost to you. And so one of the things that I really like about this too is that you have a chance to meet a lot of different advisors from across the country to share ideas, what's working for them. And so, we've been doing these as long as I've been here, and I've been here for going on 9 years, and I have never yet seen a survey from an attendee that said it wasn't worth their time. In fact, the common denominator, the common theme I hear is this is the best training event they've ever attended in their career. So if you're interested at all in potentially joining this event with us in March or knowing about our 2018 agenda, because we generally have 3 a year, please mark yes. By doing so, what we'll do is we'll email the agenda, we'll email you the schedule so you know when the next event's going to be and that we can get you on board here with us. So I need a better response here. There we go. I need to get at least 50% of you to mark yes or no. That way I know that you're with me here. I know as an advisor in the field, I never had an opportunity to get free training. There was always some sort of a cost involved in this. And just to think that we're going to pay for your airfare, your meals, and your lodging to get there, that's a big deal. And you're going to walk away with ideas from that. I can tell you right now that we monitor the attendees that are there. And when we see that after the event, their production goes up because of the fact that they're gaining so much value out of the different things that are presented to them. And so great response. I appreciate that. Okay, so if you decide that you want to know more about the academy that we've got coming up, just call our office here. We'll get you out everything, like I said, the agenda, as well as our schedules, events. Okay, I'm going to close this, and real quick here. So every year we run what we call our Top Producers Escape. And now we've changed this to the Marketing Summit. So what we do is basically about $2 million in production is where we generally have our agents get to qualify for this particular trip. And so now with the Department of Labor ruling, I've changed things up just a little bit here. So, it's one of those deals where we bring the advisor and their guest in. And this is our upcoming one in the Boulders Resort. That's February 25th through the 28th in Scottsdale, Arizona. This goes till the end of the year here. So as far as production is concerned, that ends this month. And then we usually run about an 18-month qualification. So we'd love to have you and your guest for this. Okay, let's go on to here. Okay. All right, so with that said, I'm going to turn this over to John. And again, if you have any questions, you can type those in the question box, and we'll certainly address those as we go. Are you with me, John?
I'm here. Well, good morning, everybody. It's a nice cold Friday here in Columbus, Ohio, and I thank everybody for taking the time out of your business to hear me talk about National Guardian Life. Just a little bit about myself. I run a practice here in actually Dublin, Ohio. I've been doing it for 30 years now. So when I talk about this product and the opportunities that exist with it, I'm not sitting in a home office on a headset somewhere. I'm actually out in the field producing this product. As a matter of fact, this past week we had a really nice issue week with National Guardian Life. So what I'm going to do is just talk about this unlimited opportunity, and it's awesome because it's great for your existing clients when you do reviews, but also to incorporate into your fact finder when you're speaking with new clients. So what we're going to do today is we're going to cover the opportunity that exists with the product. We'll talk about the trust that's used to hold the asset through National Guardian Life. We'll talk about what we use to fund that trust, so the actual product. I'll give you some presentation ideas and tools you can take with you today to get up and running. And then we'll also talk about the company, National Guardian Life, and the strength that they put behind the products that they put out there. So the opportunity is huge, and I was brought this by a mentor of mine about 14 years ago. I didn't know anything about National Guardian Life. I didn't know anything about the product itself. But he told me that I needed to take a look at it with them. And so what I did is I took a look at it, I studied it, I learned it, I started implementing it, and lo and behold, here we are. We're 14 years down the road. We're still producing at a great clip for National Guardian Life. And I'm going to share with you today how you can position this with your clients and prospects to set up another revenue stool for your business, because we're all in the planning business. Whether you're working with annuities and you're talking about income riders, or you're using National Guardian Life and talking about end-of-life planning, it's a plan, and it's not just going to happen. You've got to consider the options. You've got to have a strong plan to present to the client, and then you have to have the assets. You have to have the money to be able to implement the plan. So funeral and final expenses aren't any different. Someone's going to need to determine the services and pay the bills, and the question becomes who and when. So there's two ways to do it. You can have the deceased do it prior to their death, so getting their affairs in order, or the survivors afterwards. And I like to share a personal story of my own. My mom and dad divorced when I was 2 years old. I wasn't super close with my dad, but he passed away on January 21st of 2011. I'm the youngest of 5. I've always been the entrepreneur in the family. So no matter when anything happens that there needs to be decisions, I'm usually the go-to guy on that. So what happened in my situation is I found myself sitting in a funeral home with a funeral director, and the funeral director was asking me questions like, what's your dad's mother's maiden name? What was his highest rank in the military? His favorite flower, his favorite hymn? I didn't know any of the answers to these questions, but what it did is it actually made me realize that what we do for our clients with this product is not only good for that client, but it's huge for their family when someone passes away. And if my dad would have had a plan in place like this, it would have made it very easy for me to take care of the funerals. So we were left to be the survivors afterward, taking care of the things that needed to be done and the decisions that needed to be made. So NGL offers a couple different choices. They have two sides to their business. They have the plan and pay for the funeral, so that's the pre-need. They can go into the funeral home and pick out their casket and everything else and pre-pay for that. Or they can set aside money for the anticipated expenses and then take care of that down the road if they do want to go into the funeral home to do the pre-planning. So we're going to talk today about the final expense side of it. That's the side of the fence that we work on with National Guardian Life. Now, funerals today, it's interesting. If you ask your client what an average funeral would cost, you'll be surprised at the answers you get. I've been doing this, like I said, for 14 years. I just had a death 2 weeks ago, and a client's mom died. The dad had already passed away. We had NGL in place for him, and now mom's passed away. And I always make it a point to ask the client what was the cost of the funeral. We had about $16,000 in the funeral trust, and the actual funeral for this client ended up being about $14,500. So it was really close to the number. But this is something you need to know when you're talking to your client, is the cost of an average funeral. So the opportunity is huge. 72% thought it was a good idea to pre-plan, but 64% of those 72% had not taken any steps to do so. And your clients aren't any different. And the reason I think people think it's a good idea, but they don't take the opportunity to go do the plan, is because not many times does a husband wake up in the morning and look at his wife and go, hey, let's go pick our caskets out today. People, it's hard for the human mind to wrap itself around dying. Actually, the human mind, about 11 or 12 seconds of thinking about it, and it gets out of your head. So what we're doing is we're trying to push these clients in the right direction and motivate them to get their affairs in order. And the market's huge for this, as we all know. I spoke at the Aiims Academy back in November, and as I looked out among the people who were there was a lot of young advisors. And what I said to them was, wow, what an exciting time to be in this business. We had some 25, 26-year-old guys in there, and if you look at these numbers of what's going to happen over the next 20 years, they're going to be in the prime of their career, and they're going to have more people to talk to than they can even imagine. So it's great to understand that the numbers support what we're doing. And by 2025, there's going to be almost twice as many seniors as there are today. So a lot of opportunity for what we do out there. Now, when we start talking about this product with clients, this is a stat that we will bring up to the client. 69% of all Americans older than 65 are going to need nursing care, and the average cost nationally is $68,000 to $78,000 per year. And the reason we point this out to them is that 93% of all Americans have absolutely no kind of long-term care protection in place to protect everything they've worked their life for. So we want to make sure our clients understand that this is a solution to protect part of that money, because a lot of the people that do not have any care in place or any plan are going to find themselves needing to qualify for Medicaid at some point. In other words, they're going to have to spend all their assets down until they're broke in order to get care in a nursing home facility. So how this all fits together with National Guardian Life, we're just giving them the financial protection of life insurance, but we're going to protect the life insurance value using an irrevocable funeral trust. So, like I said about my dad, if he would have done this, it would allow him to plan ahead by setting aside the funds needed for the final expenses, and also have it written out exactly what he wanted to happen. And then we're going to use that trust to hold the funds so that they're excluded from a spend down from Medicaid consideration. So we'll talk about the trust themselves first with National Guardian Life. The trust will offer protection to the client from creditors. Any benefits paid out of the trust are going to be 100% income tax free. Funds are available immediately. When my client called me 2 weeks ago and told me her mom passed away, within 48 hours that money was at the funeral home to take care of the funeral, and the trusts are free. This is big because I have a relationship with an elder law attorney here that's worked next to me for quite a few years, and if you want to protect assets, he'll be happy to do a trust for you. Just bring a check for $7,500 to start the party, and then we'll see what happens from there. So with the trust being free, it's a huge benefit, and everyone's going to qualify for it. What they'll do with the funeral trust is they'll use whatever money is in there for your funeral expenses, and we'll avoid that probate cost and delays. And then the funds are going to be totally portable. And the reason this is important is, I've been doing this a long time. I have a big client base, and some of my clients that lived here in Ohio, their kids have relocated, and they've taken packed up to be near their kids and grandkids and moved out of Ohio. But these plans that we put in place for them, they can be used at any funeral home in the United States. So the funds are portable. They're not locking in with a particular funeral home. So how do the trusts compare against traditional savings instruments? I'll let you just take a peek at that real quick. But the key for me on this is if you look at CD, savings, annuities, and life insurance, and then the Irrevocable Funeral Trust, the Irrevocable Funeral Trust is the only one that hits yes in all of the categories that we're looking for. So here's how the trust works. I'll use the example of my client who just passed away. What we did is we met with her originally. We explained the concept. We found the money. She already had the money. It was just a matter of repositioning it. And what we did is we had her put $15,000 into an irrevocable funeral trust. And what we did is we bought a life insurance policy with that $15,000. Now, unlike traditional single premium life, that $15,000 gave her about $15,500 in death benefit to start out with. But what happened is after that, we took the life policy and we assigned it to the Irrevocable Funeral Trust. Now, this is where the money's going to get protected at, but I will also tell you as an advisor, this is where you want to stress to your client that it is an irrevocable trust. Don't call me and ask me to take money out of it. Don't call me and ask me to borrow from it. This is only going to be paid out at your death. I've been doing this 14 years and explaining it that way. I've never once had a client call me to ask me about cashing in or borrowing from it. They know this is there to take care of their funeral. So while it's in the funeral trust, it's going to earn interest, and that interest, when it pays out, is going to pay out 100% tax-free. So in this client's case, they called me. I called National. I got the name of the funeral home from the client. I called National Guardian Life. I gave them the funeral home and the funeral home's fax number. At that point, they faxed the claim to the funeral home, and I'm out of it. And within 48 hours, that funeral trust money is paid to the funeral home. And in this client's case, she's going to have about $1,000 or $2,000 extra, and that money will be paid to her estate. And the reason for that is when we put it into the irrevocable trust, the client gave up ownership to protect that money, and now when that money comes out, it has to be paid back to the estate. So there's two types of trust with National Guardian Life. There's the funeral expense trust. How that works is I'm going to talk about Ohio today. We'll show you a chart because I can see we have a lot of people on here, and I'm sure you're from different states. We'll show you what your limits are in your state. But in Ohio, we can put $15,000 into the funeral expense trust. That money's going to get excluded immediately from a Medicaid spend down. A lot of times I'll have the attorney next door come over to my office and say, hey, I've got this couple, the husband's in the nursing home, you know, we're trying to get money excluded. I need you to do 2 trusts for $30,000, because he knows that that money gets excluded immediately when applying for Medicaid. And then, like I just walked you through, when the client passes away, the trust will pay those funeral costs, and any excess funds will go to the estate of the insured. Now, National Guardian Life also has another trust, and it's called an estate planning trust. The nice thing about that one is you can put up to $100,000 into that trust. The only difference is going to be, instead of being excluded immediately, there's going to be a 5-year look back on the money. So once it's in there for 60 months, that money can never be touched by a nursing home due to a client needing care. And then if the client would pass away, they have the option of using the money out of this plan to pay for their funeral expenses. And the difference is any excess funds are going to go to a designated beneficiary or the insured's estate if you haven't named a beneficiary. So obviously, if you can have a beneficiary, pretty wise to name it on here. Now, the most common question I get from agents when we're talking to them is, well, when do I use which trust? And so what we tell clients, or agents, excuse me, is when we're looking at which trust to use, the funeral expense trust is going to be for crisis planning. So like I told you, the attorney next door comes over, he's, you know, we're applying for Medicaid, I need to protect as much as I can. We can put that money away automatically, and it will protect the money. And then if the client, maybe they have Medicaid coming down the road very soon within the next 5 years and they're looking to protect money. Or a lot of times I do a lot of seminar speaking, and when my clients come in that are perfectly healthy, a lot of them just want to put the money away for their funeral expenses and know that the money's protected and that they have a written out plan for their family to follow if they pass away. Now with the estate planning trust, that one's going to be a little bit different for us. Maybe Medicaid is a non-issue. So I like to tell the story about a couple of clients of mine that are teachers. And what happened is when they retired, he was a double dipper in the system. So they have a great big pension coming in. And they told me, look, we're never buying long-term care insurance. We just want to make sure that we can protect whatever money we can protect. So what we did is we did $100,000 on each one of the spouses, and they are, as a matter of fact, I just had a meeting with them here in the last 2 weeks. We're about 44 months through the process. So in 16 more months, that whole 100 or 200,000 is 100% protected from the nursing home. And sometimes you'll get clients who say, hey, you know what? I just want to make sure that I can transfer some wealth to a child or maybe to a church, and I want to make sure if I go in a nursing home that that money is protected. This is where the real opportunity is, because we will ask a client, hey, if you're not interested in doing a funeral expense trust, do you have any amount of money that you would like to know is protected from a nursing home? And then when they say yes, then we'll transition over to the estate planning trust. So the product that we use to fund the trust is called the NGL Asset Guard. It's a fixed rate product, and when you combine it with that funeral trust, it's going to give you the financial protection, and it'll also give you the funds there to do the planning when the planning needs to be done. On the next page, we'll look at those state-specific numbers, Mark. There you go. So again, looking at Ohio, we can put $15,000 into the funeral trust, and then we can also put up to $100,000 into the estate planning trust. Now, kind of a sidebar on that, it's $100,000 maximum. So, you know, if I have $15,000 already in a funeral trust, and then a client says, hey, we want to protect some extra money, I can do another $85,000 into the estate planning trust. So the reason I want to point this chart out to you, if you live in a state where, let's just look at Nebraska, since that's where Aiims is located. If you look at that Nebraska number, they're allowed to put $4,916 into a funeral trust. Well, if I was working in Nebraska and I was meeting with the client, I would say this to them. I would say, hey, you can put $4,916 into the funeral trust and we can get that protected right away. And what we'll do is we'll take the balance of the money and we'll put it into the estate planning trust. So that way you're protecting as much money as you can over a long period of time. But let's say you live in Florida. And Florida, you can't sell the funeral trust at all. You can see there it says NA. Well, if I'm in Florida, that doesn't mean I'm still not going to do funeral trust planning for my client. I'm just going to approach it differently. I'm going to say, hey, Mrs. Jones in Florida, you know what, we can still do your funeral planning, and if you think $15,000 is enough for your funeral, that's great. But what we're going to do is we're going to put it in this estate planning trust, and in 5 years from now, that money's 100% protected. So you can still do the planning, you just need to go at it at a different angle. And we see applications now coming in from these states that won't take money in a funeral trust because the advisors are realizing, hey, I'll just use the estate planning trust and explain that it's a 5-year look back period. So some good information there. Mark, you can go ahead and skip through that one. And here is what's paid out by the Irrevocable Funeral Trust. So, you know, it's basically going to cover everything that you can think of that you're going to need in a funeral setting. So what we'll talk about today is the single pay. I will tell you in our practice, that's all we do is single pay. So with the single pay, the minimum face amount is $500. The maximum is $100,000. You'll get to pick your client's growth rate for them, and you can pick that up to 2.25%. I will just tell you this, I don't care what you offer your client. You run your business how you want to run it. But whatever rate you pick to offer to your clients, we see a lot of reps that, offer them different rates. Be consistent. We offer 2%. We've given everybody we've ever written 2% because we don't want to have to explain why we're giving one client one rate and one client another. So pick it across the board and stick with it. And then the health question on the plan is one health question. And it's pretty simple. They're going to get issued one way or the other. There's no turn downs with this product. Has a big issue age range, 0 to 99. So, you can write it on client's grandchildren or children all the way up to a client who's 99 years old. So the health question is one question. If your client answers it no, it's a standard issue. If they answer it yes, they're still going to get the product, but it's going to be a guaranteed issue. You won't see a big difference in anything except your commission. So all those single pay or immediate full death benefits. So we just had one, just a client issued here for about $43,000, I think this morning or yesterday. And if that client passes away in a week, it's a full benefit to the client, nothing held back for the family. Or I should say to the family. So other product features, Mark, I think that's the one we need to pull that slide. But anyway, it can be easier to do. It's basically 2 pieces of paper and you're done. When I first got into the annuity business in 1993, I wrote my very first annuity on a guy that owned a dry cleaner in Marion, Ohio. And he slid a $25,000 check across to me. And I couldn't even believe he was going to let me leave his business with $25,000. But the point is, the application for the annuity was 3 pages, and one of those pages was a receipt. Now, if many of you are doing annuities today, even annuities or life policies can be 30 to 40 pages in length. With National Guardian Life, it's 2 pieces of paper and your state replacement form, and you've written the application. So if you don't like paperwork, you're going to love doing this product with National Guardian Life. So there's a copy of the first page of the application, the top part. It's all just going to be your basic information. You can see the statement of health question there down at the bottom. Again, even if they're in a nursing home, they can qualify for the program. We've had many cases where the husbands have been confined for a year, and we've sat down with the wife and wrote a plan on her and on him without ever meeting him, because if the client answers yes to the health question, then the spouse can act on their behalf and they can sign for them and buy the policy without you ever seeing the client. So the bottom of the page where you're going to get the client's signatures, you're going to put your information and your agent code on there. This next page is going to be if they gave you cash at the deal, you can write them a receipt and leave that with them. And then you're going to have at the bottom, on the funeral expense trust form, this is the disclosure to them telling them that you're going to take their policy, and 45 days after issue, it's going to go into this irrevocable funeral trust. Now, if you have a situation like I run into with the attorney next door and you're in crisis mode because they're trying to qualify for Medicaid, down here they can sign and we can waive the 45-day period, and we can have that policy put into the trust the day that it's issued. So that's really nice if you're in a crisis planning mode. So when you're presenting this to clients, what I tell new agents that are licensed with the company to represent this product is start talking about this on your annual review. If I was a new agent and I'd got, not a new agent, but a newly licensed agent, and I was going out to do an annual review with a client, the first thing I would do is say, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, I've worked with you for 5 years. Wouldn't you agree that all the advice I've given you has worked out the way that I promised that it would? And they're going to tell you yes. And then at that point, it's simple. There was something we neglected to take care of, and today we're going to figure out how we get that done for you. I'm an assumption closer. I'm assuming everybody's doing business with me until they tell me differently. And then I'm going to review the issues concerning going to the funeral home and the different things you need to do, and we're going to discuss the needs and how we get that done. So we're going to stress those benefits of planning ahead, and we're going to tell them, you know what, if you go prepay at your local funeral home, you're locked in there. If you prepay here and put your money aside with the insurance company, that money can be used at any funeral home. So if your local funeral home burns to the ground, goes out of business, changes ownership, you don't like the new owners, you're not stuck. You can use this anywhere. Now, this is real important right here, this 1035 exchange on existing life insurance. We do a lot of business with this in our practice, and here's why. The majority of your clients don't understand, if they own a life policy, that when they die, the majority of those contracts do not pay them both the death benefit and the cash value. They're going to pay them the higher of the two. So as an example with a client, if they have those old life insurance policies that you always kind of brushed aside because you didn't want to deal with them, if you can get them to sit there and call those companies with you, it's a real simple question. How much cash value do I have, and how much is the death benefit? A couple cases that we've written recently, the cash value was $17,000 and the death benefit was $20,000. So once we explain to the client that, hey, you really only have $3,000 of life insurance benefit because they're going to pay you 20 and 17 of that is your money, wouldn't it make more sense to take the 17 and put it into our program and protect it and know that it's going to be there in the future and you're not going to have to spend it down at a nursing home? When you explain that to the client, a light bulb goes off. And then I will just want to say one more thing on this. Our rule of thumb is if your cash value is within 25% of your death benefit, then it's a good transaction for the client. In other words, if they would have had $15,000 in cash value and the death benefit was $20,000, we would have still had to make the move. Yeah, we're giving up $5,000 in death benefit, but we're protecting the $15,000. So really be on the lookout for that. We see, and especially this last month, Mark, a lot of cases coming in under that strategy. So then you got to close the sale. The client's going to have the peace of mind of knowing that they've planned ahead and their funds are protected. And the thing with this is, when I sold that first annuity to the guy that owned the dry cleaner back in 1993, I barely knew what I was doing. Today I could teach a class on annuities because it's not that I'm the smartest guy in the world, it's repetition. And I've been doing it so long. Same thing with National Guardian Life. 14 years ago, I knew nothing. Today, I'm doing webinars on it. So again, get comfortable, talk to your clients about it, and you'll really be surprised at the amount of business you pick up in this plan.
Hey, John.
Yes, sir.
Got a couple of questions. You want to address those now, or do you want to hold off?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, so Ronnie was, obviously he's inquiring about the cost of the estate planning trust, and you said that that was free. So here's a question. Is the minimum for the estate planning trust greater than $15,000?
No, it's zero. It's 500. Either trust is 500 minimum.
Okay. And he says, if that's the case, then in Oklahoma, I can only put $10,000 in the funeral trust. I would have to have an additional $15,000 going into the estate trust.
No, you could do 10 in the funeral trust, and if you want them to have 15,000 worth of benefit, you would just put 5 in the estate planning trust.
And they don't have to put money in the funeral trust. They can put it just in the estate trust.
They can, and I will say this, if they're a healthy client and you're going to overfund it, and nursing home doesn't look anywhere in the next 60 months, I would do it that way because you can also name a beneficiary to that estate planning trust. So whatever's not used at the funeral is going to come back to a named beneficiary.
Okay. And just a positive comment. Thank you. Okay. That's it for now.
Okay. So where do we find the money? Here's the nice thing. When I talk to a client about this, I'm not afraid to say to them, hey, you know what, Kathy? We're not even, if you think about it, in theory, we're not even buying anything today. All we're doing is we're taking money you already have and we're going to reposition it from what will be countable in a Medicaid spend down situation and putting it on the other side of the table where your money can't be touched. So when I say that to them, now I'm going to find out where the money's at, but they're not thinking they're really buying anything. They're just repositioning their money to take care of their funeral plans, and then here's where we find the money at. It's very common for us to hear from a client, well, I haven't prepaid my funeral, but I have a CD down at the bank with $10,000 in it, and my daughter knows that's to be used for my funeral. Well, if that's the case, Kathy, why don't we take that money and put it into something that's protected, get you a better interest rate that you're getting at the bank, and it's going to accomplish the same purpose, and it'll actually be there when you pass away, not be lost to a nursing home. And they understand that people are scared to death about this nursing home cost, but very few people are motivated to do anything, and this is a great way for you to kind of push them along and do a good job for them. Maybe you're a big annuity producer and you never took trails on your annuities and you've got all this annuity money laying there. Mark, I think the statistic is 92% of people that put money in annuities never take it out during their lifetime. Now's a good time to harvest some of that out of there, pay the tax on it. We'll have a client say, well, yeah, John, if I do this penalty-free withdrawal of $15,000, don't I have to pay income tax on that? Well, yeah, you do, but what we're going to do is we're going to make it easy. We're going to have them withhold the tax for you and send it to the government. So when tax time gets here, you don't have to worry about it. It's not an objection. They just want to understand. And when you tell them you're going to take care of that for them up front, that's all they want to know. So again, lots of places to get the money from.
Mm-hmm.
So when I'm working with National Guardian Life's products, I use two brochures. I use the one on the left of the Understanding Medicaid and the one on the right. You'll be able, once you're licensed, to order these directly from the website, and you're going to love their website. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. But you can have these branded to your company name on the back. So they're great leave behind pieces. I love to tell this story about a couple I had over here by my office. They had their life insurance with Nationwide, which here in Columbus is huge. It's where they're headquartered. I met with the client. I showed them the value of doing it. It was a nice size case. And then at the end of the thing, she said, well, John, you know, we want to think and talk about this. And I said, that's a great idea. But the way I run my business, this isn't what I said to them, but I'm letting you agents know, is I said, I'm fine with you thinking about it. I'm going to call you at 1 o'clock tomorrow because I want to get a decision one way or the other. We don't want this to drag out. We want you making the decision while the information is fresh on your mind. She said, that's fine. The next morning at 9 o'clock, my phone rang in my office. I answered it. It was her. She said, hey, I just want to let you know, we read through the brochure again. Let's get an appointment set up. We want to move everything into the trust. So this is it's a trifold. It's put in layman's terms so your client can understand what they're doing. So National Guardian Life itself, I will tell you, the statistics speak for themselves. You know, you always want a strong financial company when you're doing business with your client. But more importantly, I have been doing business with National Guardian Life for 14 years. And I will go on record and tell you this. I have never had one issue with National Guardian Life. Not one. They bend over backwards to make sure that everything is done and done appropriately, even down to their 1035 exchange business. You can fax the whole app in with the 1035 exchange and they'll get to work on it. Their turnaround time is about 2 to 3 weeks of getting money from the other company. So they're very efficient in their business model. Here's the agent website. Again, once you're licensed, everything, if you remember from very early in the presentation where I showed you the illustration of buying the policy, putting it into the trust, how it gets paid out. There's PowerPoint presentations on here that you can load onto your iPad and sit right in front of the client and share it with them. Maybe you're doing small group presentations. Whatever you're doing, everything you need to conduct your business is on here. And the beauty is, if you submit a case to National Guardian Life, Give you an example, we submitted one last week, I think it was on a Monday, and on Wednesday our commissions were in our account. So their submission to commission is top notch as well. And the 1-800 number you see there, they are so good. They're like Aiims. If you call them, you're going to get a live person. You can be in a meeting with a client and have a question. Give them a call. They'll walk you through anything you need. They're just a great team to work with. So why sell the product? I've explained to you and showed you the stats. Your clients need it and they're thinking about it. It's a great income opportunity. When I set out on this journey with National Guardian Life, I run a business. I don't want to be dependent on any one income coming into my business. I want streams of income. And so I saw this as an opportunity to create another stream of income, and it's worked out very well for us, and I'll show you how you can implement it into your practice and make a great another income stream. The trusts are free, so there's no fees, and I asked every client this when I do business with them. Kathy, has anyone ever talked to you about an irrevocable funeral trust? And the answer is always no. So there's no other person out there that's talking to your clients about this unless you're that guy or girl. The funds are portable. Again, they can be used in any funeral home. We talked about the company itself. Gives your client that peace of mind. And again, 2 pieces of paper in your state disclosure or replacement form, and you've written your application. So I like to talk about compensation, and I'm sure everyone else does as well. So, in this business, I'm big on taking time off. I work hard when I work, and I play hard when I play. And so I figured if I just showed you of meeting and doing a plan with just 2 couples a month and just doing $10,000 on each couple, just to keep the numbers simple, that means you're picking up $40,000 of revenue to your annual bottom line every year. Now think about that for a minute. That's $3,000 to $3,400 a month of revenue that you've now created coming into your business. And wouldn't that be nice to know that, hey, all my office expenses are taken care of, or that's my marketing dollars every month? It's just a great way to add another revenue leg to that income stool. So we're going to focus here on the top left-hand corner, and Mark, we'll just talk about the case I just got issued. The guy was 65 years old. He was, I think you and I talked this morning, it was $43,000 that issued. He was standard issue. So I made 13.31% on that deal that issued. That was $5,200. Do you know how I got that case? I went out and did an annual review on a client, and he had a policy that was actually going to endow if he didn't do something with it. And so we went through it, and I showed him how, yeah, you can have it endow and take the money, but this client doesn't need the money. So we moved it into here and protected it. So the point to that is, I don't know where else you can do a good job for a client in this new interest and, or not interest, but commission environment and make 13% for doing a good job for a client. So again, once you're licensed, this is showing it at a 2% growth rate. You'll be able to pick the growth rate for your client, and you can go through your commission schedule and see how that affects you. So National Guardian Life does great trips. The last one I went on with them was to Marco Island, Florida, just first class all the way. The thing I like about these trips, and I'll say this to you, is whether you're going to National Guardian Life or, we'll be on this Aiims trip that's coming up at the Boulders in February. Ever since I was young in this business, you know what I did when I went to these trips? I like to have fun too, but I always was seeking out the people who were at the top. I wanted to know what they were doing to be so successful. And then all I did is I just duplicated that. I didn't need to reinvent the wheel. I needed to find out what the top guys were doing, and I needed to do that. And that's really how I've built this practice with not only annuities and investment money, but also with National Guardian Life. So some of the biggest challenges, getting comfortable with the concept. Again, You know, I told you back there in '93, I didn't know about annuities. Today I can teach about them. You'll get comfortable, and once you've got this implemented, it'll become part of your routine, and then you'll learn how to present it. And it's really just stressing the benefits of pre-planning. You know, I've got a story to tell because my dad passed away and had nothing done. But you can borrow my story and tell that to a client of what happened to somebody you know, to motivate them to get their affairs in order, because they don't want to leave their kids in that situation or their spouse. And then just keep it top of mind every day. Every time you talk to a client or a prospect, ask them, have you pre-planned your funeral? So what I did is a few years ago, I came up with this guide for beneficiaries. If you become licensed with National Guardian Life, Mark will send this out to you in a format that you can, structure it to your particular company. But as you'll see here, what we did is we actually went out and delivered these to our clients. And the reason we did it is we lost a very big case. The client's daughter called me and said, hey, mom passed away. We had about $500,000 in annuity of her money. I said, hey, great, we need to set an appointment so I can come out and help you settle the estate. And she said, oh, don't worry about it. We talked to the guy at the bank. He's going to handle everything for us. So I said, I'm not going to let that happen again. So what we did is we put this beneficiary guide into the homes, and what it allowed us to do was recapture all their current financial information and then lead them to what they needed to do next. And our successes were pretty incredible. We wrote over an additional $1.5 million of annuity premium. We wrote about $200,000 of single premium life traditional, and we wrote about $150,000 of National Guardian Life in about an 8-month period just because of this. And again, that practice makes perfect. You're out there seeing the client, placing the guide, updating the information. And remember, your clients don't tell you everything that they have, even if you think they do. This will bring it to the table. So on ours, it says, a guide for my beneficiaries for help settling my estate. Please call my advisor at Inting Financial Services. So we tell them, hey, everything's in here and updated for you. Make sure your kids know that this is here and to call us. So again, and we get calls from this. We'll get a call every couple months that a client's passed away and the beneficiary has this in their hands. So along with this is the financial organizer we use to collect all the new information, and we tell them, hey, we're giving you this beneficiary guide. We're going to update all of your information for you, and we give them a copy of this, and we say, put it in your guide. If I had never met you before, I could walk in, pick this up, and start helping get your estate settled because everything's in order. So it's here, the first page is going to be basic information. We get to the second page, we're going to have more basic information. And then when we get to this third page, I'm sorry, Mark, go ahead. I think it's page 4. Apologize for that. Yeah. So page 4, if you look at question 8, we have it on there. Have you prepaid your funeral? It's a yes or no question. If they tell us no, we're not going to break out into a sales presentation, but we're certainly going to circle the wagon. If they tell us yes, then our next question to them is, do you have any money that you would like to know is 100% protected from a nursing home in the event you need care? And then that opens up a conversation for other money that they may want to put into the estate planning trust. So that's it for me on the financial organizer. Again, once you're contracted with Aiims, this makes all of this available to you once you're contracted with National Guardian Life. And that's all I have to say on it. Mark, if you have any questions, I'll certainly be happy to answer them to the best of my ability.
We do. So William asks, we work with federal employees and do a rollover from their TSP into an annuity. How would we use some of that money for estate planning trust?
Well, and again, every situation is going to be different. But if it were me and I was working in that, I would work on a little I don't want to call it a sales pitch, but a dialogue that's repeatable every time, where you're going to have to look at their taxes. And if it's just about doing a funeral trust, you can always, move the money over, or before you move it over, say, hey, we're going to pull $15,000 out, have the taxes paid on it, and go ahead and get your funeral trust done. If you want to do it over time, you can have as many policies as you want, as long as you don't exceed the 100,000. So maybe for a particular client, William, in that situation, it would make sense to say, hey, you've got 300,000 in this TSP over the next 5 years. Every year we're going to pull 20,000 out, pay the taxes on it, and buy one of these policies. Yes, they'll be staggered, but eventually they'll all meet that 60-month look-back period.
Charles basically says he's been familiar with the product and now he is ready to contract. So that's great news.
Well, Charles, I'm going to say this to you. I love to hear that excitement. And one of the things that you have on your side in moving forward with this is Aiims does a great job on helping you along, but really utilize the National Guardian Life team and their website to help you. It's just, I can't say enough about the way they've built their system.
All right, John, it looks like our question box is empty unless anybody has anything else they want to type in there real quick for us here. So while you're doing that, I just want to let you know again, this is recorded. So I will email this recording out to you probably later on today, and then you can expect a phone call from me. I'd like to follow up, see if there's any additional questions that you have. Also like to get the contracting out, get the forms out to you. This really is, as John said, it's just one of those products you just have to, offer it to every one of your clients. And I've been so impressed with the growth in the sales in this product. In fact, this has really been a top-selling product for us here this month. And, with Medicare, the open enrollment period going on, I know a lot of advisors that do business with us will go back and they'll see those clients and talk to them about this because it's kind of a nice little fit, nice complement in that market as well. So,
Mark, can I interrupt you for 1 second?
Absolutely.
For the people that are still on here? Just one thing I want to touch base on that I didn't get to. There is, if you, and that was a great question, William, because it reminded me to talk about this. But NGL does have a DOL source of funds disclosure and acknowledgement form. So make sure if you're working with qualified money, maybe you're doing a 10% penalty free out of an annuity IRA, that's fine and you can do it. Just make sure you pull off the disclosure and acknowledgement if it's qualified money and have that signed. And then something that's really important, once you get contracted and you go on their website, the first thing I want you to do is order the 2 brochures I talked about. But make sure you order their planning guide. It's a high gloss 4-page planning guide that you can hand to them when you write the contract and ask them to get it completed by the time you bring their policy back. And if they'll do that, that situation I had with my dad, had he had this planning guide filled out, I could have handed this to the funeral director and just sat back and looked at my iPhone while the funeral director took care of everything, because it has everything in there from their mother's maiden name to their favorite funeral to or their favorite hymn to where they graduated. So utilize these. I was always taught in the sales process, leave a task for the client so that they're engaged. And when you ask them to get this completed by the time you get back, you're going to find that they're appreciative of it as well. So I'll make sure I touched on that.
Excellent. Okay. John, thank you so much for taking time here today. I know you're very busy trying to wrap up your year on a very high note. So thank you for your business. And thank all of you here this morning. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you all for joining us here today. Again, we'll be in touch with you shortly. So
thanks, Mark.
Yep, thank you. Have a great weekend, everyone.